What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Kyle coming at you with another video. Today I wanted to go over a common question that gets asked a lot. And this is going to be the 401k versus Roth IRA question. If you don't know, the 401k and the Roth IRA are two different types of retirement accounts, oftentimes confused with each other because they both serve a similar purpose, but there are things about them that make them different. And there are some things about them that might make them better suited for your scenario, one versus the other, or a combination of both, which is going to be, in the end, the ideal goal. That's kind of what you want to shoot for. But I'm here to kind of clear up some questions that oftentimes get asked about the two accounts and whether one is right for you, which one, why that is, and so on and so forth. Now, before we kind of compare the two against each other, I think it's a good idea to understand essentially what each of these different retirement accounts is and how the two differ from each other. So to start with the 401k, this is typically something that is going to be offered by your employer. So if you're someone that is employed by a company, typically a 401k is a common benefit that they may offer to their employees as a retirement option. This essentially is going to allow you to take money directly from your paycheck and put it into this retirement account before it gets taxed. So if you make $5,000 a month before taxes, this is something where you might be able to deduct out $500 out of your paycheck before the federal government or your state government is going to be able to see your paycheck and tax it. Essentially, they're going to see it as you making $4,500 a month as opposed to $5,000 because that $500 is going to be put directly into the retirement account before anything gets taxed from it. Now, typically 401ks are invested into things like stocks, bonds, ETFs, anything like that. Compared to a Roth IRA, your investment options are a little bit more limited, but still, you get your basic access to the fundamentals of what you would be using to invest in the markets. Now, in terms of contribution limits, this is one thing that is also a little bit different from Roth IRAs, is that if you are between the ages of 18 and 50, you are going to be able to invest $19,500 into your 401k. Now, if you're over the age of 50, you're going to be able to invest up to $26,000 into that account every single year. This number is actually going to be changing in 2022. So in 2022, you're going to be able to invest up to $20,500 between the ages of 18 and 50. And then over the age of 50, you're going to be able to put in $27,000. So a slight little adjustment that you're going to see next year. And obviously, yes, the biggest thing that you're really going to notice between the 401k and the Roth IRA is that the 401k is going to be pre-tax money. So that's, the biggest difference that you're going to see. And we'll get into the Roth IRA, how that's a little bit different right now. Now, with a Roth IRA, you're actually going to be able to open this type of account without the help of an employer. Typically, a 401k is done through an employer, but a Roth IRA can be opened up by an individual. This is money that you're going to be putting in post-tax, meaning you've already received your paycheck. So let's say your paycheck was $5,000 and you took out $500 and put that into your 401k. So the government saw you making $4,500. The government is going to tax that, and let's say you come home with a paycheck with $3,000 on it. That $3,000, you're going to be able to invest that wherever you want, pay your expenses, pay your rent, whatever it is, but you're also going to be able to take some of that money and put it into your Roth IRA. Now, this is what makes it the most different from a 401k. So you could take $500 from the $3,000 that you took home and put that into your Roth IRA. Basically, what that's going to allow you to do is invest that into the markets, whatever way you want to. And then when you pull the money out at retirement, it's not going to be taxed. Whereas the 401k, when you pull the money out at retirement, since you weren't taxed on it when you put it in, you're going to be taxed on it when it comes out at retirement. Now, the nice thing about Roth IRAs also is that you have a little bit more flexibility with where your money's going. You can choose specific mutual funds, you can choose specific stocks, and that's something that, depending on your employer and the platform they use, might allow you to have a little bit more flexibility as to where your money's going, and it will allow you to have a little bit more control over that. And when it comes to contributions, another difference here is that with the Roth IRA, you are able to contribute up to $6,000 a year. But this is also going to depend on your income. So once you hit a gross income of $125,000 or more, you're going to start to see that contribution limit decrease. So as you get closer to 150,000, there's 170,000, 200,000, you're going to see that contribution limit drop from $6,000 down. Now you'd be able to go online and look up a graph as to how exactly that's going to break down depending on your income level, but just know that once you hit that $125,000 threshold, you're going to start to see your contribution limit go down. Now, if you're like me and you had never opened either of these accounts prior, you want to make sure that you're choosing the right account to invest in before you make any decisions here. You don't want to just automatically assume that the 401k is the best. You also don't want to automatically assume that the Roth IRA is the best just because everybody has a different situation, and the combination of these two accounts is going to make sense depending only on your situation and your situation specifically. Now, what I will say is that I'm not offering any sort of advice on which one to do over the other one, but there is a little bit of a flow chart that you can follow to kind of help give you a baseline and see what might make the most sense in a typical situation. So let's say that you've just started with a company and that company doesn't offer you a 401k at all. In this situation, I would say that your best bet is to at least start with the Roth IRA. Start contributing $500 a month or whatever you can contribute. You know, the thing with the Roth IRA is that since the contribution limit is only $6,000, if you invest $500 a month, every month for the entire year, you're going to hit that $6,000. So when it comes to maxing out your Roth IRA, if you're able to hit that $500 a month threshold, then you're going to be doing just that. If your employer does in fact offer you a 401k program, ideally they're going to offer that with some sort of company match. Basically, what a company match is that they will match up to a certain percentage of your income into your 401k. What that's going to allow you to do is they are going to pay you essentially free money. They're going to match whatever you contribute up to that percentage into your account. So this is something where it would honestly be stupid not to take that. So if your company does offer you that 401k match program and you're choosing between the Roth and the 401k, in most situations, it's going to make the most sense to at least start at that match level. So if they offer you a 5% match, I would match up to that 5% so that you're getting the full dollar amount back from them. And then if you have any money left over, I would go over to the Roth IRA and start contributing to that. Once you've gotten your money where you've met the match requirements for your employer, you've met the $500 a month for your Roth, then any money that you might have extra, that's great. That's money that you can put back into your 401k. So typically this makes sense with most people, and I'm going to kind of run through a scenario here with actual dollar amounts so that you can see if this is something that might make sense to you, or it might help you understand the situation a little bit more. So let's say that little Timmy has got $60,000 that he is making a year. He wants to invest 15% of that, which is $9,000, into the markets, into his retirement. And he's trying to choose between a 401k and a Roth IRA. He works for a company that is actually going to offer a 401k program with a 2% match. So the first thing that we would do is have Timmy at least invest 2% of his income into his company's 401k program, since they're going to give him another 2% back. So he's going to put $1,200 a year into this account. That means that his company is going to essentially return him back another $1,200 into the account that he's going to be matched for. So that's $2,400 there, only half of which he actually put in. So now Timmy has 13% of that 15% that he was trying to invest before available that he can put into other sorts of accounts and invest accordingly. Now, we would recommend that Timmy at least gets his full Roth IRA contribution done. So that means that he's going to put $500 a month, $6,000 a year into his Roth IRA so that he's taking full advantage of that account. He knows that there's not any more money that he could possibly contribute to it, and that he's doing himself a favor by investing fully in that full after-tax account. So now Timmy has invested $7,200 of that $9,000 that he originally had planned to invest. What we would then want him to do is go back to his 401k program and invest the rest of that money, the $1,800 that he had available after he had already gotten his 2% match and he had already maxed out his Roth IRA. And any money that he has left over is going to go back into the 401k so that we're getting closer and closer to hitting that $19,500 contribution limit. Granted, we are assuming that Timmy's going to be under the age of 50 here. A nice little benchmark that you want to use for the 401k is, like we said with the Roth IRA, if you invest $500 a month into it, to hit the contribution limit on your 401k, you need to invest $1,625 every single month to hit the 19.5 if you're under the age of 50. So that's kind of a benchmark we can use there, and understand that any money Timmy has left over, if he has $1,800 left over, he's only going to be able to really put just about $150 a month additionally into his 401k program to kind of get him closer to that $1,625 benchmark that we're looking for. So this is a great example as to how I kind of wanted to demonstrate the answer to this situation, where it kind of makes sense to use both. If you're able to afford investing your money into both of these accounts, it definitely makes sense. One thing with the 401k program that some people like to consider is whether or not they think that taxes are going to be lower or higher in the future. So if you think taxes are going to be higher right now and they're going to be lower in the future, then it might make more sense to put more of your money into the 401k, because in the future that money is going to be taxed less coming out than it is right now. If you think the taxes are going to be higher in the future and that you're paying lower taxes now, it might make more sense to invest more heavily into the Roth IRA, because you're going to be paying what you think might be less taxes now than you would be in the future. But in all honesty, it makes most sense to use both of these accounts and to invest as much as you can into the accounts and try to get them to the max limits. You also want to consider what your income is going to look like down the line. Most people are going to think that they're going to be making more money in the future than they are right now. So, as you get closer to that $125,000 a year, with the Roth IRA, you're going to start to contribute or only be able to contribute less once you get past that. So it might make more sense to start contributing more heavily to the Roth right now if you anticipate yourself making a lot more money down the line. Once you hit $125,000, you're going to see that contribution limit decrease and decrease over time. And that's going to impact your ability to really invest to the max amount into this account and to kind of maximize the benefits that you're going to see in the future when you get to the age of 59 and a half, when you're able to pull money out of that account. But at the end of the day, it's something that I continue to repeat. Trying to get to the point where you're using both of these accounts and maxing them out is going to be the most important thing you can do for your retirement when it comes to utilizing a retirement account. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section down below. I'll be answering questions. I'll also have my LinkedIn and Instagram available as well if you guys feel you want to ask me questions on there. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like and subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.